Hi everyone, it's Siobhan coming on live not finish, but to continue Fearless the conversation. Thank you so much for joining. Let's see, I'm waiting on my guests to enter in. I'm a few seconds early, so let's see. Hope everybody's having a magnificent Monday. Hey Jay, how you doing today? So the way back. Hey girl. So we're here talking about my upcoming children's book that's set to be released called Fearless. And so I'm here having today's conversation with Alicia Morgan, and I'm waiting for her to jump on with us so we can talk about how she's overcome fear in her life to accomplish her goals. So we're waiting on Alicia to come on in. I'm a few seconds early, so she should be on her way. There she is. Hey, Tamesia. Hey, Jay. Hey, Tamesia.
Did I make it in?
Hey, Alicia, how are you? Yes, you are in
Hi.
here. How you
Hi.
doing? It's so good to see you. Happy Monday.
Can, Happy Monday. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you well. I can hear you all right now. Can you
Okay.
hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you okay.
Okay, perfect. Listen, thank you so much for joining me on Fearless, a conversation where we are talking about my upcoming book, Fearless 21 Affirmations to Build Bold and Confident Young Girls. And, you are someone I've known for, I want to say over 8 to 10 years. And I wanted to just speak with you about fear and how you've used it as a motivator in accomplishing some of the goals that you have accomplished in your life. So I think it's only fitting for us to give a little bit of a backstory. So we met through another mutual associate at an event, I think. And then that's how we just kind of connected and we started talking, and it became, a friendship as our lives individually changed from a professional and personal perspective. And we always just stayed in touch. And even from a virtual perspective, you've always inspired me, even though we don't live in the same city anymore. And we, keep in touch from here, from time to time. And we try to encourage each other on our own personal and professional journey. So again, I'm just so thankful to have you here with me today.
Can I just shout you out and say, you text me maybe a year ago,
Wait,
say I'm working on this.
wait,
Huh?
Alicia, hold on.
Okay.
Hold
Can
on,
you hear me?
hold on 1 second, Alicia. You're buffering. Hold on, you're buffering. Okay,
Okay.
now go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me now? It's all right. We're figuring this out. So
I
you
can hear you
texted me
now.
about
Go ahead.
a year ago and said I'm working on a book. I'm looking for an illustrator. Didn't hear from you again, and here goes the book. So you're like in
Wait,
action. So that's amazing. I just want to say that's so
Alicia,
amazing.
let me thank you. Listen, I'm so grateful. Let me tell you. So the other day I was going back through some journals, and I actually found a journal from 2017. And in the top of that journal, like on one of the pages, it said write children's book in 2017. And so I don't even know where I was working at the time. I knew I was living in Houston, but I don't know if I was still in pharmacy at that time. I think I was probably still working for retail pharmacy. And I wrote that, and I had no idea that it would go from me writing it in a journal to actually seeing the fruit of it come forth now. And I think that's so important that, you know, God can put something on your heart or impress something upon you that you feel led to do, and you just never know how life is going to lead you to bring forth that you wrote down. I didn't know in 2021
That's a Baka too, right? You
that
write
I
it
have
down
a
and
book about to.
yeah.
Right. And that's so integral to what we're doing with the book. So again, I'm just so excited, to have you, and thank you so much for taking out time to talk. So question number one on the hot seat. Express a time when you have felt most afraid, and why did you feel that way?
Hot seat. In 2005,
We
I
starting out with the
was
fire early.
right. In 2005, I was working in Seattle and I was an engineer. So I'm an engineer by background, aerospace and industrial. And I felt an inkling like this can't be it. So in 2005, I told my parents I'm an only child. I was going to move back to New Orleans and I was going to figure it out from there. So I was going to quit the job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we know what happened in 2005 in New Orleans, Hurricane
Right.
Katrina. So
Right.
couldn't really go back home, but I said, I'm still going to move.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to get a U pack, which is a container, and pack whatever I could in my apartment and give away everything else and ship my car. And my parents were relocated to Houston at the time. So they had an apartment before they would go back to New Orleans. So I
Yeah.
just left.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You talk about being bold. And then
Right.
once you do it, you're like, oh, what did I
This is
just
what
do?
this is like, right? This
what
is
I,
what this is.
without a plan and without a safety net. But I didn't know that was going to be the background drop for my
Right.
entire story. I didn't know that was going to be. So I moved to Houston
Yeah.
and I had some family members, but I didn't know a lot of people. And so, like I said, the mutual friend, we met and we connected. And
Mm-hmm.
so for about a year in Houston, I didn't have a job. I did some substitute teaching, but again, I didn't know that was going to be where I transitioned into the education sector. So just
Right.
listening to an inner knowing and not knowing
Mm-hmm.
what's next.
Mm-hmm. That took
Laid
a
off
lot
from a
of
job
boldness for you to
before,
step out, even when you
and
didn't know.
yes, right. So I've been laid off a job, and then when I got laid off, I said I don't want to go back to engineering. I'm going to transition to the nonprofit sector. That was kind of bumpy. The first nonprofit job I had, I was fired. So you gotta understand this. The things they say you should never do in your career, never quit a job, never if you don't have another lined up. You get laid off, your career might derail. You get fired, oh my God, it's over. You got all these things. So being in the wilderness several times and
Mm-hmm.
listening to the inner knowing, and
Mm-hmm.
then knowing that people will come in life. I mean, there are times, you don't like to talk about this, but you listen to your inner knowing, God
Right.
telling you to call me and say, I need to help you
Yeah.
for some resources and
Yeah.
just doing that. So for me, it's not necessarily like a fear, but just like being comfortable and listening to that inner knowing. And
Mm-hmm.
because the wilderness is not fun. It's
Right.
not fun. It's scary. It can be
Mm-hmm.
dark. And even though you know it will work out, like the book of James said, chapter 1,
Mm-hmm.
testing your faith, you're facing
Mm-hmm.
many trials, it builds perseverance. You're like, but how much perseverance do I need until it works out? But you don't know. So yeah, that listening to that inner knowing and being confident in it.
I think what something you said was so vital. You talked about the wilderness. And I think oftentimes we don't want to go into the wilderness because we don't want for there to be scarcity. We don't want there to be a
Yeah.
place where we don't know what's going to happen next, what's going, where our next provision is going to come from. We don't want to be in, who wants to be in the wilderness? It's hot. Where am I going to get my water? Where am I going to eat? Who wants to be in that place? But I think sometimes on the other side of that, there's so much greatness on the other side of that. And when we move fear out of the way and go through the wilderness to see what's going to happen on the other side, that's when we can experience the great joy of whatever is waiting for us on the other side. But we have to move past the fear of going through the wilderness. Like we won't go through the wilderness just because we're afraid of what we may not have. You know what I'm saying? Or what we may lack, we may have left in the previous season where we were. So I'm telling you, I definitely, personally about some personal wildernesses I have been in when I was afraid to. And for me, from a professional perspective, I was so grateful to graduate from Xavier University. I'm so grateful to have had a very impactful career in pharmacy. But I just felt that from within that there was something more for me to do that didn't necessarily look like something I had always done. And I think, fear can make you stop. When you first initially start to think, wait, why am I feeling like this? Everything is good. It's coasting. You know what I'm saying? I'm traveling. We're doing this. We're doing that.
Right.
But there's some on the inside that's saying there is more for you to do. Like this is just a stepping stone to where I'm leading you. And I even with me, Alicia, writing the book, I am not a professional writer. I have no previous experience. This is just something I felt the Lord leading me to put down and to potentially impact somebody. And so that's why I felt the need to do it, even though I was afraid. I'm like, hey, I don't even have kids. How can I write a book encouraging children when I don't physically have any? And so I think it just speaks to how God will always encourage us to do something, even when we feel personally unqualified to do whatever it is that he's calling us to do, that he'll prepare us, you know, and he'll qualify us, even if we may feel unqualified, you know? So, okay.
But
So
you have nieces and nephews, so you
I
have
have a niece
experience.
and I have,
Yeah.
yes, I have a niece
So
who, go
so
ahead.
you have that experience. We
Yeah.
just don't we want things to be aligned in a certain way, but we don't realize those experiences are around us
Right.
and we are qualified. So
There you go. There you go. And listen, and I dedicated part of the book to Shaylin, you know, to encourage her as a teenager to be bold and courageous in everything that she's pursuing, to not allow fear to hold her back in any area of our life. You know, sometimes I think that we don't take opportunities because we haven't experienced it before. You know, it's the fear of
mhm.
the unknown. Like, I've never done anything like this, you know, so that can be, it can bring on a level of fear. And so the goal is to not allow that fear to stop us, but to just keep moving forward. Okay, so the seat is still hot. It's getting a little hotter. Okay. So the next question is, what is your fear factor? Do you have a fear factor?
So being a analytical person and having to have things mapped out in the blueprint,
Mm-hmm.
and so my comfort zone has
Right.
been like yanked from under me a lot. And so just learning by doing, you know what, I'm
Right.
afraid. I'm going to keep doing it. Because getting on this live, I don't do live very
Right.
often. So it's like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And if I fail or if it
Exactly.
doesn't work out perfectly, it's okay. I can readjust or, you know, whatever. So just
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging it doesn't necessarily go away. You just have to
Yeah.
learn by doing. I mean, there's a lot of things, and you have a lot of experience because we want things to be aligned because we are taught in a syllabus kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
You got to think how we taught in education system, but life is not a syllabus. You're
No.
learning as you go, you're adjusting. And
And
so for me, taking this informal path from taking a formal path as an engineer to informal in nonprofits and just kind of paving my own way in kind of an entrepreneurial kind of way, my career went from traditional to non-traditional, and
right.
just embracing that it'll work out. And also I have to learn that I'm an overgiver, but the way things work, you have to give and receive, not one more than the other. So just knowing that you just
Absolutely.
got to learn by doing sometimes. That's the best teacher.
Yeah, because life is very much so not like a syllabus, right? There's so many detours, so many yield signs, so many, you know, when you're driving, you go out of town, you might pick the wrong exit and then have to get back on the highway and go the opposite direction. Life can be so much like that. And I think that
Mhm.
oftentimes I have not taken an opportunity because I was scared of the outcome, you know, or I was scared that I did not know, I couldn't anticipate what the outcome would be. And so I was like, no, I'm gonna stay safe. I'm not gonna try to do that particular thing. I'm gonna stay safe and not even venture to do that because I did not know what the outcome would be. And in hindsight, now in my 40s, I'm like, I just wish that. And I'm grateful because I know that every opportunity, you know, nothing is
Yeah.
wasted, Alicia. So even when we go back and we
Right.
think about, we process how things could have happened in the past, nothing is wasted. But I just wonder how different things would have been if I would not have allowed fear to stop me. And again, that's just one of the motivators for me, you know, to encourage young girls coming up, no matter the age, to not allow fear to be a hindrance to stop them. So, okay, I have a story before I ask you the next hot seat question, so
Okay.
you could cool off just a little bit. So, whenever I used to travel, they would always have these, like, you know, you can go skydiving, you know,
Oh
or
yeah.
go do it, look, cliff jump and all this. Alicia, I would always, this is me. I would say, okay, you can do it. Come on, you can do it. You've already paid for it. You can do it. Stay strong. So I'm standing on the edge of the cliff, Alicia. I'm standing on the dude is like, okay, just step off, you know, like so just do it. And I'm just standing on the edge of that cliff, just so afraid, right? To do it. Even I've already paid, I signed the waiver, I'm ready. I'm getting ready to jump off the cliff. And I get to the very edge and I just start shaking. I get so afraid. And once I jumped, it was the best experience ever. And I think that that's the thing to remember, that you can feel fearful. You can go back in your mind and question whether or not it was appropriate to do that particular thing. But once you actually jump off and do it, it's a wonderful experience. You're like, man, I should have, like, I want to do it again. It was so wonderful. So, all right, here we go. Next question on the hot seat. How has being fearful impacted any important decisions you've made in your life, and why? Or has being fearful impacted any of your life decisions?
So knowing when to pull the trigger, and so I have been in recently in a Bible study, and the prayer has help my unbelief. Even though I have evidence of things working out, just doing it. And over time, I've realized for me that things had to get really rough for me to just do it. And so I'm working on recognizing that sooner and learning when things no longer serve you and knowing when to walk away, when to say no, when it's something a good opportunity but not a great opportunity. And it's just that, like, we're taught, as women of color, people of color, or coming from underserved community, opportunities come once in a lifetime. You may not get another. So letting go of that scarcity too, and realizing that just because it's an opportunity doesn't mean that I need to do it. And then realizing that once you achieve a certain lot of success, it's not guaranteed. You have peaks and valleys, and people may not understand, like, you got to keep going out. You got to do it now. You're going to lose out. And just like, no, I'm not going to lose out. This is not the right time. I need to take a step back. I need to readjust. I need to rest. So just getting through all of it is a daily challenge.
I think that what you're saying is so critical because I think there's been so many times just in my life and just different opportunities that have presented themselves to me. And I've taken them first, Alicia, because I thought, wow, this is such a great opportunity. And then weeks later, I'm like, I should not have done that. Or I didn't seek the Lord prior to taking said opportunity. Because just because something looks good from my eyes, from how I look at it, due to maybe the financial remuneration, maybe due to the exposure or whatever, that just may not be where God is leading me in this time, at this particular time. And so I think I personally have to be so mindful about the opportunities and not feel like you said that, oh, just because the opportunity is coming at this time, I have to be quickly led to take it, because it may indeed be something that we take the cause of sorrow over time. It's something that may not be beneficial for us from a physical perspective, emotional, mental, so it's so essential, to seek God before we take on opportunities, just because the opportunity from the physical looks like it's such a great opportunity, and you said something so critical too about walking away when things no longer serve you. That is definitely an area of opportunity for growth for me from a fear perspective. I just don't like to let stuff go. I'm like, no, come on, 10 years. It's time now.
Yeah.
And there's power.
This the whole time. You feel like I invested so much time and I can't let this go.
Yeah. But there's power in letting go. There's power in releasing things, and there's power in preparing for the next. And especially in 2020, I had to learn the goodness in letting go and the goodness in releasing things that are no longer serving. And I think that sometimes in fear, we think that things are serving us because that's how it's always been. But in reality, once you let go, you can see that things are so much better on the other side. So much better when we release on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still hot. So let me ask you another question. Now, we talked about this personally prior to the live, but have you overcome fear in your mind, or how have you overcome fear in your life?
I don't think I've completely overcome it. But I think when I think of the term fearless, I think I fear less because I have evidence of things working out, or evidence that I can get through something. But I think if it really goes away, I may become a little bit too arrogant to think that I'm in complete control and things will work as per the plan. I mean, because last year totally ripped us all to like our plans. And like, you can get used to success and getting rejected. Because I got rejected from a lot of things last year. But I think it was a testament to, it's not the right time. And also knowing that I'm still in control. Even though you've got this level of success, you're still not in complete control. So for me, I don't perceive fear as a bad thing. I think it keeps you humbled, it keeps you connected, and then you learn how to walk through it. Because I don't, it just not, because every time
Mm-hmm.
before a speech, you know, I do a speech, I still get nervous. When I did my TED talk, we were
Mm-hmm.
practicing TEDx talk. We were practicing like right before, and I blinked out and I forgot my whole speech.
Mm-hmm.
And I text one of my mentors, like, oh my
Wow.
God, they was like, your speech is about fear. You could just make it up. So what does it matter at this point? so, so yeah. So for me, it doesn't completely go away.
You know, I think that it can be healthy because I think it can kind of help bolster you and give you a sort of a confidence. So one of my previous guests, Tiffany, mentioned that fear, she uses fear as a motivator to do
Mm-hmm.
hard things. And I thought that that was so incredible. And there's so much truth to that, that instead of allowing fear to cause us to stop and halt, and yes, you might have to stop and think about it, you can actually pivot, turn it around and use it to bolster you forward, you know, to do great things. So I would say that I am becoming more and more fearless.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely not as fearful as I was years ago. I have
Right.
definitely grown in my fearlessness, but I think that it's something that you can continue as you continue to mature personally. I think that it's something that becomes less of a hold on your life, that you become much more bold, um, much more not, I don't want to say aggressive, but you're just much more intentional about how you go about doing things and what you do and the level of excellence that you do whatever it is that you do, you know, when you don't allow fear to keep you back, you know. um so hot seat question, what is the message that you would tell your former self, your younger self, about fear? If you could go back to the 13-year-old Alicia, or to the Alicia that was about to get ready to graduate from Tuskegee, or from the Alicia that was about to leave Boeing, how would you tell her how to navigate fear in her life?
When I was growing up, my parents used to tell me that if you need things or situations or people to define you, you're going to live a hard life. And if you can imagine
Mm-hmm.
stepping out and trying to be more bold or fearless, that you have to embrace your full self, and it's not going to always be understood. You may lose friends, and you know, one of the songs I love the most is "The Greatest Love of All." And
Mm-hmm.
you know, in the song it says, "I decided long ago, never shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe." And for me, you know, living as I
Right.
believe, living in my truth and wearing my truth is very important to me. And to know that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're going to lose some people that are close to you. You know, once you achieve success, it'll change the people around you. It's okay. You know, you're going to get hurt about it. But if you want to continue living as who you are, boldly and confidently, that's a part of the process. So I just wish I would have known it was a part of the process. It was going to still hurt, but just knowing that
Yeah,
it's not unique. If you study the story of great people and amazing people, it's happened to them too.
absolutely. I think one of the things that we talked about on one of my previous guests was that we have to embrace failure, and how we have to use the failure that we experience in our life to help us to do the great things we're called to do, and how sometimes we're afraid of failure. And so that fear of failure will keep you from pursuing whatever it is that God may have placed on your heart to pursue. And so one of the things that you said that was so vital just now was that everybody won't understand. And I think that sometimes we look for, I'm not gonna say I look for people to say, yes, Siobhan, that's it. Keep going. You're on the right path. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
hey, that was a great job. And honestly, you know, the goal of life is not to have people applaud us, and not to have people to necessarily say that what we're doing is great. um, we're living for an audience of one. You know, we're trying to please God. We want to live a life that honors Him, and where we're doing the things that He has called us to do. And that in doing that, everyone won't understand, and that's okay. And I think that if I were to talk to younger Siobhan, that's what I would tell her. Exactly what you said. Everyone won't understand your journey. Some may question your journey or question the decisions that you make, but it's okay. You know that if you're following the leading and guiding of the Lord. You may not even understand, Alicia. Oftentimes I don't understand. Like, hey,
Yeah.
Lord, I don't get it. Right. And so even we may not even understand, but something I always say is that in God's love, he always does what's best for us. Even when I don't understand, we're not going to understand. And I think there's peace in knowing that you can just surrender and say, hey, God, whatever it is you're going to do, I'm here. You can do it through me. I surrender to you. You can do it through my life. And when we do that, there's freedom. I think you become fearless because hey, I surrendered it to God. So this is what he told me to do. I'm doing it. And so I'll leave the results up to him. You know what I'm saying? And I can rest in knowing that I did all I could to try to obey what he's calling me to, even if I don't get it. Even if I don't get it. Okay, Alicia, final question.
Yeah, you
How would go ahead. Go ahead,
what'd you
Alicia.
say?
No,
No, I
I
was
was
gonna
saying,
say,
go ahead.
yeah,
I'm
you
sorry.
just being more confident and assertive, and just, again, going back to that inner knowing. Like, you know what? The inner knowing says it's gonna work out. I just gotta release knowing when and how.
Yeah. I think I don't know what pastor I heard say this, but they said that we don't have to wonder about the how when we trust the who. When we trust God, it
Yeah.
doesn't
Oh,
matter
wow.
how. The steps I don't have to know A and B. I don't even have to know the timing. All I have to trust is that
Mm-hmm.
God told me that he would do it and that he will. And I can rest in that. So last question. How do you define fearless for you?
Being fearless to me means embracing your God-given light to do what you're called to do without knowing all the details all of the time, and then allowing people in your life to empower you to do that. It's not an army of one. You have your set of skills, but in order for it to be done, it takes a village. So in order for it to be done, it's going to take all these different people coming into you. It would be strangers, it may be someone you never thought you least expect, and as a journey as an advocate, that is really itself to me. It's like, I didn't plan on being an advocate of any sort. My personality more type is more behind the scenes, reserved, but that wasn't the full plan of what my life was going to be. So things had to be disrupted. If you look at my senior yearbook, it says engineer and writer. That was it. And so a series of things happened to uproot my life and bring me out forward, and to know that the things that happened to me will help me to be more empathetic to other people and serving. So just standing in that and not knowing all the details all the time, and even my journey to you talk about failure. So I had been an engineer, after school programs, college and workforce readiness opportunities. So before I got to be the VP of education programs at the museum, I had interviewed for another job, and I thought I was going to get it. I was so excited, and I didn't get it. And it was actually a job that was a lower level than the executive level. So if you got to imagine, I was disappointed.
Okay.
And even looking at the job description,
Mm-hmm.
I said, nah, there's no way I should apply for this. I need to do all of these down the list. And I have a friend that says, even if you feel like you're not all the way qualified, go for it. And I did. So you got to imagine, I was thinking smaller than the opportunity that was supposed to be.
Come
And
on.
that disappointment was not really a disappointment. It was a realignment, because I was going to block the greatness of what I was supposed to be. And I was able to succeed, not just because of my own skills, but it was the right time, right timing, right place, right people at the time. When that all aligns, great things happen. But you got to understand that I was really devastated.
Yeah.
I didn't get that opportunity. But I'm looking back now like, I was going to block the greatness that was. And then that opportunity came from someone I know posted about it on LinkedIn. And who knows what the future is going to hold. But I just think about it all the time. You can be really disappointed about something, but it's blocking you for that greater thing that you have no idea. And if that didn't happen, and I think about that the whole journey, like leaving leaving Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
going to Houston, that interim, I met you. I never would have
Mm-hmm.
met you. We would be having this conversation.
Correct.
And
Mm-hmm.
going to Texas, and the job I had, you know, my last corporate job, we did a lot of executive. I was interacting with executives. I wasn't an executive, but
Right.
that propelled me into the
It
future,
was
the things I was
preparing
going to
you.
do.
It was
I
preparing
didn't know
you.
that. And working with diverse student, refugee, and immigrant students,
Mm-hmm.
I work understood. You know, I learned a lot of cultural biases, cultural
Yeah.
sensitivity, and working all those diverse people.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't all by my design, but it was perfectly aligned. Not by my design, but perfectly aligned to
And
everything.
it led you into where you are today. And I think that it's especially, I know for me specifically last year, there was so much loss, and I
Mm-hmm.
mourned the loss. But I'm so
Mm-hmm.
grateful now. Like it hasn't been that much past the loss, but I'm actually grateful for the loss because the loss has
Mm-hmm.
provided so much of a greater opportunity. But at the time when you're in the midst of the loss, you can't see that. You just see that, oh, this is something that I no longer have. But it's actually in
Mm-hmm.
losing what you think is supposed to be
Yeah.
with you, you know, for an extended period of time. It's in losing that you can actually open your eyes to see a greater opportunity before you. And that opportunity I may not have accessed if I was holding on. You know what I'm saying? If I was holding on
Mm-hmm.
to what I always had, or if I held on even to the disappointment, like, oh,
Right.
I no longer have access to this, so I must not be qualified to do this. You know, and so I think that there's power in letting go. And just circling around and bringing it back to the book, I think that we can become more fearless when we let go. As we let go, as we surrender our expectations, people's expectations, our 5-year plan, our whatever, as we surrender those things, we can live bolder lives. We can live more courageous lives. We can live lives that are fearless when we just surrender, you know, to whatever God is doing in our lives. He has great plans for us anyway. And the plans that he has, according to the word of God, are much greater than any plans that we could even make up or come up with or dream about on our own, you know, so. I'm so grateful. Just to plug my book, a shameless plug. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. My book is coming out.
Do it.
My website, ShavonLeBlanc.com, is set to be published soon, and my book will be available on my website. You can purchase it from there. So I'm again so excited for this opportunity. Alicia, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me today and to share some of the wonderful life experiences that have contributed to you being a more fearless woman. Thank you so much, Alicia. I
Oh, thank
appreciate you.
you. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye.